Hunter Lawrence from second has gone down. Three in a row. Chase Sexton 1-1 at Washougal.
Oh, yeah, we got a special guest here today on Title 24, presented by NBC Sports. Our man, my co-host, Ryan Villopoto, is gone, but we brought some heat in today with a 7-time Pro Motocross or Pro AMA champion. That is Rick Johnson. RJ, glad to have you on, brother. Thanks for coming on, dude.
No. We've been talking about this. You know, you guys are doing a great job because it's one thing to watch a race as a fan, but it's also to hear in your ear and me as a past champion and a different generation and stuff like that. I love to hear the insight that you and then RV have, because if I was racing against you, now we're an open book. I'm going to tell you what I would do. You're going to tell me what you would do. And sometimes they're completely different ways of going about it. But, you know, as I said, I think you and Ryan were probably the closest to similar game strategies, wide effing open from the gate to the finish line. But and also obviously it worked for both of you guys. So I love hearing the insight.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for the compliments. That's nice. Means a lot coming for you. We got some great partners here at Title 24, Boxel USA, Quadlock, Dunlop, United Motorsports. We appreciate you guys. We thank you for the support. We couldn't do it without you guys. I think right off the bat, the United Motorsports moment of the week is obviously having a legend like you on, RJ. It's always so fun. You're so open, you're candid, your insight that you bring to the table, I think, is respected by a lot of people, 100%. Certainly ours here at Title 24, mine and RV's. And you kind of hit the nail on the head there with as far as, you know, talking about how you would race us or we would race you or how you would race a competitor in general. And we'll have a little bit of that because I had some questions. I know we have some fan questions, kind of similar to what you were saying, like, how would you beat a guy like Deegan? How would you approach a guy like Chase Sexton? And one thing about like RV and I feel like we had the same kind of view of racing and racing plan, and we trained hard and just our approach. So there's not a lot of times where we can go back and forth or we don't disagree very much. But at the end of the day, I think we think the same a lot like you do. And dude, when is the last time that you've been to Washougal, since we're going to be talking about Washougal?
Well, when I was the riding coach for Suzuki, you know, you and I did a little bit together. You had a very tight knit group of people. Your mom, trainers, all the different stuff that you had going on. But there was a couple little things here and there. So that was the last time I was there, and I always loved Washougal because it's a sketchy track. I mean, the trees,
It is.
the shadows, the dirt, it goes from where they till it super deep and you're just hammering the gas to coming through the corner and just completely drifting the front wheel and rolling on the throttle. So a rider that can adapt to different conditions throughout the day, and then what tire choice, and then how much compression, how much rebound, what are you doing to make those changes? So it's been a while since I've ridden on it, but going there and watching it, I think they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I do. Was it hard like that when you were racing there as well? I mean, I knew you were there when you were with Suzuki, but like when you were racing, was it at that hard base like that?
Well, and I started racing there. Actually got my pro license there in 1980. So I had to go up there and do regionals. We didn't have supercross and all that stuff or arena cross to get you for your pro license. So you had to go do so many regionals. So I had to race at Washougal and McMinnville. And I went up to that Northwest and raced there. And I fell in love with it the first time I saw it, because racing in Southern California is desert or it's just flat and bushes and stuff. Seeing the trees really kind of turned my crank. But I raced there also in 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, and so on. I won my championship there against Lachine in 84, lost the championship to David Bailey in 86. It was a 500 round. And so they didn't have the watering down as good as they had. So we'd either have a really good track in a really deep, loamy, wet track in the first moto, and then a dusty track in the second moto. So
right, dude, it's funny you say that, because talking about like when you look at the tracks today compared to when you were racing and I were racing, same thing. Like it would be muddy as hell the first moto, and the place would be torched the second moto. Like not as bad as it was in your generation. It was maybe a step better, but
Yeah.
nothing like what it is today. It's way better today.
It's
100%.
a constant race course all day long. I remember I would go out and just stay away from the mud holes and really not try to go fast because we didn't have to qualify back then. It didn't
Yeah.
matter if you were
Right.
10 seconds off. I was looking for stuff going, oh, okay, it's muddy here and things like that.
Yeah, did you guys, like, when you were in practice and you're doing your practice laps in the morning, were you guys still taking lap times and, like, judging yourself against other dudes, or were you not as focused on lap times as you were just getting the track and the bike set up right for race conditions?
Roger was because Roger came from Europe. Roger and Dave Arnold were my manager slash co-manager. Roger was big on lap times, and so they would tell us, and you want to be fast, even though it didn't count to get us a starting position or anything like that. You wanted to set the pace, man. If you could go out there and be the fastest guy, then they're like, oh, shit, he's fast again. I do know one thing. When I went to qualify for the Unadilla Grand Prix in 1989, I came back and Bale dominated everything that year in GPs. I came in and when you're really RC, when you're really cocky and you go to your mechanic and you ask for the lap time, knowing that he's going to tell you that you're the fastest.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
went up there and I tell Lunas, I pull my goggles off. I'm like,
yeah.
so how's my lap time? He goes, you're 3 seconds off. I'm like, what? He goes, you're 3 seconds off. I'm like, off of who? And he goes, Bale. I'm like, he's cutting the track. There's no way. I'm going.
You were
So
in the
fast.
zone, dude, right? You're
I was
like, "There's no way."
flying. I was flying. And I'm like, how the hell is he 3 seconds faster? So I went up in the bushes, hid so he couldn't see me, and I watched him. And then
Yeah.
I learned how he rode that track versus how I was riding the track. I was coming in like California style, trying to bank off the berms, to use the berm to slingshot me down, and it would suck me in, bow. So I watched him really light on the berms, carry momentum. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, now I get it. But so to answer your question, yes, we took lap times, and yes, it was a concern. But many times, like when we were at Carlsbad, I was
Yeah.
like 6th or 7th for the GP, and Roger's like, "You're off." I'm like, "I'll be 10 seconds faster in the race." He's like, "There's no way." I'm like, "Trust me, the mud and everything, I'll be better." So you did it, but it wasn't near as important as it is now.
Yeah, yeah. Same. I like you, we didn't have to qualify. Our qualifying times didn't matter. It was just like a point of reference and,
All right, but hold on a
good.
second. I
Yeah.
gotta give my favorite one of my favorite Ricky Carmichael stories.
Oh,
We're at Glen Helen.
yeah,
You're sweeping everything. You come over the finish line, you hit a bike or something like that, and you ate shit coming onto the
yeah.
starting line.
Wyndham's bike, yeah.
And so I run over there. I think I was the Suzuki coach, or I was doing something there.
You were with Suzuki for sure because that was the last year that I was with Honda, or
Yeah.
yeah, that was the last race, and we knew that I was coming over there, in a couple weeks.
So you're on the ground and you are shaking, making that cool sound that we make, that
Yeah.
when you can't breathe and all the different stuff. And and I tried to help you up, and you're like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. I'm like, dude, let me help you up. And so I help you up, and your leg was hurt. I don't know what you injured, but you're just like,
Right.
and then you got on the bike, you glazed over. And I'm like, he's either knocked unconscious or something, but you went into a zone, you took off, and you burnt down 2 laps, and you
Uh-huh.
set the fastest lap, and then you went on to win those motos, and that's when you swept it. And that's honestly, I've always respected you, and I'm not trying to blow too much smoke up your right now. But when I saw how much you hurt and how bad, I think your bars were even bent.
Yeah.
And you just said, I I don't care. I'm gonna be faster. And you went out. Kudos to you, brother, because
Thanks, dude.
that's what I truly, I've always been a fan.
Well,
But that
I
was when I was like, this guy's for real.
I appreciate it, and you know better than anybody. I mean, I think some of the key to my success and what I was able to accomplish in my day was because of your generation and how hard you guys worked. I mean, like just you just guys found a way, right? And there was no other way. You just had to work your tail off, and so you're responsible. Especially your generation is responsible for that. So
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it. That's it for the United Motorsports moment of the week. So glad to have you on. If you haven't checked out UnitedMotorsports.com, go for it. They got a great online presence, and you can sign up. You can see if you're watching this show, unitedmotorsports.com/title24. Your initial sign up, they'll give you a $15 credit. If you're in the Ohio, Kentucky area, go and check their stores live. They also got some of our partners here at Title 24's product in there, Boxo. They definitely got that, and Dunlop. But moving along, talk about Boxo. The Boxo breakdown is going to be the 450. RJ, I can't wait to hear what you have to think about a certain riders here on the rundown. Dude, I thought Aaron Plessinger did a great job. He showed some good speed, especially early on. And you know how hard it is to pass at that place. So you kind of you can get trapped there. But man, he got a great start and basically led wire to wire. Do you think he beats Sexton if he doesn't stall it?
That's a tough one because
I know.
Sexton was coming, and
it's tough.
Put it this way: if it was you, even if someone was catching you, you would have thrown elbows, and the last 2 laps you would have made it. He would have had to work much harder to get it. I think a lot of the generation is very cordial when it comes to, hey, a guy's coming, kind of let him go. And I think because I want Aaron to win so bad. I love the guy. When I had him on the Toyota Escondido show and a cappella, I said, hey, sing that song. And dude, he just jumped right out and did it. And so that kind
of what song was it?
I can't remember, but he literally sounded like a country, like all of us in the stage is like completely mouth jaw, and he didn't hesitate, wasn't embarrassed, and I love that about him.
Yeah.
I think if he would have won, it would have changed him. For instance, John Dowd and Doug Henry won in the biggest mud race ever, at Hangtown. And all of a sudden, boom, at their age, they start coming up. And they get that confidence. And once you win, fortunately for you, you won pretty much either second or third race, you went to the next class.
Right.
But when you do that, you go, I can win. Because I think some guys kind of feel like maybe I'm cursed or I'm destined to not be a winner. So to answer your question, I think he still would have got him, but I think it would have been better for Aaron to have that and make it to the finish.
Yeah, I think it would have been. I wish it wouldn't have played out the way that it did. Chase Sexton, same thing, a little bobble early, interesting that he pushed the front end and that tight left-hander, but as you know, dude, it's super easy to do. Maybe the shadows had something to do with it, but it's not a surprise to see how well Chase Sexton is doing. I mean, you just kind of know and have a good feeling unless he hits the deck hard that he's going to win. And it's no disrespect to anybody else, but he's just in that driver's seat, and he just looks comfortable, sounds comfortable. I think the bike looks good. And granted, I know Jet isn't there, but at the same time, he still deserves a lot of credit.
Well, I watched little things because I remember I don't want to be that guy back in the day, but how I referenced my thoughts is I remember I raced at Lake Whitney down in Texas, 125 National. I was 16, turning 17, and I got second. I beat everybody except Barnett. And Barnett was just an animal. The Suzuki was good. I mean, he wasn't even in the same area code as me. He was gone. But I had passed O'Mara and Gibson and Cantaloupe and all the guys in my deal. But when I came off the track, I was ripping off of me. And I was grabbing people with Cokes, and I was dumping it down my shirt. I was dying. I thought I was dying. And, you go to impound. And so I threw my bike, and I'm grabbing stuff going, I'm going to burn up. My feet are on fire. And here's Barnett, still has his Jof on, took the time to put his goggles on top of his head, and he's walking casually across the thing. And I'm going, oh, man, how am I going to get to that level? What am I going to do? And so the reason I tell you that story is I watched Chase Sexton cross the finish line. He's cruising around. He's got his goggles on. He's taking his time. And everybody else, some of the riders rip their helmets off and have them on their arms. They're still on the track, but they're so hot, they're getting as much off as they can. And same thing with a lot of the other riders. He rode all the way under to the podium with his goggles still on. So that tells me his fitness is great. He's willing to put up with pain because
Yeah.
it's hot for everybody. I don't care
Yeah.
what shape you're in; it's still effing hot, and
Yeah.
he's able to maintain that pain.
Yeah. And he
And
did the extra lap, bro.
exactly. Probably his fastest lap time too. So seeing that, that's what the other guys in the field need to go, what am I doing wrong? And
Right.
and they're not doing it.
Yeah. What about like Hunter? I mean, he's trying another crash. Like he goes down in the first moto. Remember that right hander right before the rollers. I hated to see that because, dude, like 13 points isn't a lot, and I feel like there's been moments. In my opinion, I was talking to somebody about this on the flight home yesterday. I just feel like there was certain moments to where I know I hate saying if, but really like breaking it down. And I guess maybe I'm trying to build a narrative that might not be there. But I go back to Redbud, that first moto when Hunter hit the deck hard. And then I feel like if he was able to win that moto, I think it changes the complexity of the championship. And
Agreed.
then I feel like maybe this past weekend, if he's able to stay ahead of Chase a little bit longer, it can change it. Might not change the end of the outcome for the championship, but I do feel like it would definitely make it more interesting. And then he goes down. So do you think we're being too hard on Hunter and expecting too much out of him?
No, you're the man. When you get called to the job, you have to step up. When I was, I was the number one
Dude,
guy at
really?
Honda. Yes, because look, I was the number one guy at Honda. Stanton was right there with me. When I
Uh-huh.
when I left, he didn't lower his he just kept it going, and it just kept moving. This We're at the top level. This is the top of the top of the top. This is the F1 of motocross. And damn it, if you're getting paid millions of dollars to be there, sorry, you better step up when it's your time. And so here's what I think is that, and you can clarify this. Everybody's got these training deals down, the goat farm and all these
Yeah.
Florida things, to where you guys ride with a lot of horsepower, just ringing it out. You bring the
Yeah.
guy. I wasn't impressed with the pace at Washougal because I think everybody's used to riding these tracks where they're either groomed, they can handle a lot of the throttle, and then you go to Washougal where you got to roll it on and you're sliding
Mhm.
the front wheel, and it's a different riding style. But that's the thing; it's a different track each week, and you got to prepare for it. When I would go to Southwick, I would go stay back there. I didn't like living back there, but I would stay back all week long, riding these tracks up in Maryland and stuff like up in the sand to get ready for sand because I wasn't a sand guy. And same
Right.
thing, you would come out to California for Supercross and you didn't like
Yeah.
riding Corona. You want to be home.
No, I know. You're right. All right.
So,
Well, fair
so yes,
enough. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. So I think he's
So
capable.
you think we're not being too hard on him by expecting him to win
No,
or at least challenge Sexton?
no, no. I think you
Dude, I
need
don't know, man.
how can you not, Ricky? Then you're
Well,
not.
no, because I say this because
And I like the dis.
if
I like disagreeing.
Jet was there, or okay, and Eli was there, and Kenny was there, would we be expecting him to beat those guys too?
If I was if
You know
I
what I'm
was in
saying? Like,
if I was in his camp, I would. So Ricky, when you showed up at your very first 125 national, didn't you think you were going to win? Your very first. I thought I was going to win my first Supercross. I never ran Supercross. I was 16
mhm,
in San
yeah,
Diego and I didn't have a chance in hell, but my arrogance
yeah,
and my confidence was, what am I going to say on the podium? That was my biggest fear. And I think that you're allowing these guys to go, well, he's this isn't his first year. This isn't
yeah, oh, yeah, I don't it is his first year on the 450, but I understand, like, yes, to answer you go back to answer your point, when I went to my first Supercross, did I wanna win? Hell yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, 100%. I would be straight up with you and all of our listeners, or whether you're watching us on Peacock or on Motorsports and NBC YouTube page. I mean, I didn't think I didn't really believe that I could, but I wanted to. When I
Right.
went to Gatorback Pro National, my first outdoor national, hell yeah, I wanted to win. Dude,
Right.
I grew up racing there. But
Right.
there was a side of me racing Lammy and K
Mhm.
Dub. I'm like, dude, like, putting my realistic hat on, they had way more experience than I did, and they were, especially Lammy was past champion. Like, he knew what to expect, and I really didn't know what to expect. I just had to rely on my young piss and vinegar, if you will. So I see what you're saying. I don't know. So, okay, so this goes into our Dunlop debate. If you haven't, go check out Dunlop, best tires in the industry. Those guys over there work really hard. Thank God these guys weren't on the scoop tire this weekend. But so it kind of leads me to, okay, we're talking about Hunter. Now, what about Jason Anderson? He looked really good, by the way. I know that you liked it, and you can comment it. Why don't we put Anderson in that category? Or do you put him in that category because he has just as much experience?
Absolutely, and if I'm Kawasaki, I expect him to win. You're our guy, okay? The Yamaha guys, you're our guy. The Husqvarna guy, you're our guy. All of different stuff. You're paid to win, and you're paid to be there to do that. What I've always respected about you and because I took the same thing, is fix the problem. I
Right.
think everybody's looking at Chase and going, "This is like this unattainable thing." No, it's not. It's a tenth of a second of a roll through the middle of the corner. It's not breaking traction 4 times a lap coming off with all that horsepower, and are you blurping the clutch and all the different stuff. It's 1%, all these things, and you're beating the guy. And so I agree with you on Jason Anderson. I think when I work with him on as an 80 rider, he was
Yeah.
just
Oh,
phenomenal.
did you work with him as an 80
Yeah,
rider?
yeah, I was his riding coach. I prepped his starting spot. We went to the line at Loretta's, and his dad goes, "You know what? I'd rather have you take him." I had the Champ Factory
Really?
team with Suzuki, the support team, and that was the year that
Really?
Jason dominated 80s. But it was pulling the reins back on him. I'm like, "Listen, you're too big. You're not going to get the whole shot." So I started him all the way on the outside, because on the inside, at Loretta's, if you
Yeah.
don't get the whole shot, you're screwed. You're like, you go either get first or last, and everybody wants to get by the dog box. I'm like, nope. This is where condition over position. I said, I'm going to put you out here. He's like, why
Yeah.
so far wide? I go, because you're not going to let off, and I want to get you in the top 10 because you're way faster than everybody. So let's manage that, and then pass 1 or 2 guys a lap. You don't have to pass all 10, and watch what happens, and manage your time
Yeah.
and be smoother and stuff like that, 'cause nobody drops the hammer harder than Jason continually. But yes, I put him in that category. And yes, he stepped up and he's close. So if I was his coach, which I'm not, I would say, let's work on rolling through the corner a little bit better, because he comes in harder than anybody, comes off harder than anybody, very similar to you, but he's a bigger guy. You got to let the bike roll. So give me a little bit more roll in the middle and a little smoother on the acceleration. And he's with Chase.
All right. This weekend was a pretty tough blow in the points. You can see that we're watching. If you're only listening to Title 24, you won't be able to see it. But we're looking at the 450 class season points, and Sexton's got a 28-point lead. That's a pretty big gap. Keep your eyes on Justin Cooper. He's third, 76 markers back, and Plessinger is 79 back and fourth. So that's going to be a good battle. I like the momentum that Plessinger has the last 2 weeks. I feel like he's stepped it up, just his intensity level. That's what I've seen, RJ. I think I would give him the advantage over Cooper right now.
I would definitely. Because he's on an uphill swing. And what I've seen out of
Yep.
Cooper is at Colorado, he was running 16, 16, 16, 16. Then all of a sudden, 17s, 18s, 19, 20, 21. And stopwatch doesn't lie. I mean, I've
Nope.
watched you with
You're
your
right.
mom out there. Oh, Jeannie's out there, just
Yep.
boom, 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 boom,
Dude, you
telling
know
you
that
that.
I'm a stopwatch dude. Like, and you got like you said it, and I love how truthful you are. A lot of people probably don't like it, but I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100% hands down. The stopwatch don't lie. And if you need to be if you're running 216s at the beginning, you got to be able to run at least 217s, no worse than 218s at the end. Track conditions, I'm keeping track conditions in mind, but you got to be able to have the same amount in the tank as you did at the beginning, in my opinion.
Well, and I watched you, and I watched you when I was with Tortelli
And you
stuff.
guys, and your generation too.
Well, and so we would go in, and when I started using a stopwatch, I could make it in a supercross. I could make it to about a lap 14,
Mm-hmm.
but my intensity was up here.
Yeah.
My intensity was going higher, but my lap times were going down. And then I can make it to 16 laps and 17 laps. And then when I was at my strongest point, and I watched you time and time again, you didn't do a 20 lap moto. You did a 25 lap moto so that
That's
you knew
right.
20 laps was going to be. And if it's a 30-minute moto or a 35-minute moto, you do 40, you run the tank out. And so that when you sit on the starting line, you don't sit there and go, oh man, what if I get tired? Now I get tired, I'm gonna look bad, I'm gonna lose money. I'm gonna let everyone down. You have these doubts and fears. But when you sit on the starting line, and you know this better than anybody, I'm gonna kick everyone's. Is
Yeah.
everybody willing to go to the deep water with me? And they're not. You just know they're not.
Yeah.
And I don't see that enough now. Fix the problem. Are you
Mhm.
overtraining? Are you undertraining? Are you not eating enough? Are you not sleeping enough? I don't know what the problem is, but I'm
Yeah.
not seeing the consistent moto times except out of Sexton on good days.
Yeah.
Some days he's a mental case and he goes backwards, but that out of the Lawrence brothers.
Right. No, some big names coming back supposedly, which I think is always great for the series. And I want to see it. I want to see the best guys out there, just like you do. I'm sure I don't want to speak for you, but yeah, we want to see all these dudes put to the test, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I guess Kenny looks like he might come back for Dilla. Looks like Cooper Webb might come back for Unadilla. I don't think obviously Jet's not going to be back. I heard Eli might start riding this week. So, I mean, of those guys, I mean, it's hard to role play, but I don't know. I don't know if I expect Coop to do a whole much challenging Sexton at Unadilla and these other guys just from being gone and out of it for so long. And then you got Kenny. I do like Kenny at Unadilla. I do like Kenny at Unadilla.
So here's what I like about both of those guys is one is someone needs to play what you just said about Cooper Webb.
Yeah.
He totally thrives and drives on someone doubting him. I mean, I talked to his dad one time when he moved to 450s, and I said,
Yeah.
he needs to calm down a little bit. He's taken the 250 intensity to the 450, and his dad was pissed. Like,
Really?
you don't understand. I'm like, no, I totally understand. But he's riding a 450 like a 250, and it's biting me. But I love that if you doubt him. So I'm going to say, Cooper Webb, you can't do it. You're over. It's done. You suck. Go
Yeah.
surfing back in South Carolina. But
You did.
secretly,
You reverse psychology, dude.
exactly. But secretly, I'm like, come on, Coop, get your back out there and show them what you
Yeah.
got. What I like about Kenny is that he nobody goes faster than him the
Well, he
first
gets
5
good
laps.
starts, dude. He gets good starts.
And so now, if you get Sexton back a little ways and you let Kenny get some breathing room, he's one of those riders that feeds on positive input. I mean, he worked with his dad, who I think hammered him so much with negative, negative, negative. Then when he broke away, then they came back together, all the different stuff. But I think if Kenny can get that whole shot, break away, I think
Mhm.
people are going to have a hard time catching him. And as well as you got to remember, Kenny and both Cooper can get good starts.
Yeah.
And so now you put them up in the mix and now you got these title contenders going, oh, they don't count, but they're going to mess up the results.
Well, and you talked about it. You're right on the nail, dude. With Kenny, is really explosive at the beginning of the races. He gets great starts. He
Yep.
really likes Unadilla. He's told me that, so that's how I know that information. And
Yep.
if he gets a good start, like you're saying, and he puts those sprint laps in, and there's just a little bit of a crack, or Sexton doesn't get a good start off the beginning, gets caught up behind these guys for the first 5 laps. A guy as good and as crafty as Kenny and as much knowledge and experience as he had. Remember now, Kenny's won this championship a
Yep.
couple times, so he knows what to do. That could be interesting. And if I'm Hunter Lawrence, dude, I'm trying to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm trying to take advantage of it, because if you can go deeper than Kenny and you can pressure him and maybe you can get by him late in the race, then that's another guy, but you know, in between yourself and Sexton where you can close the gap points. Maybe I'm wishful thinking here just because I want it to go down to the last race, but crazier things have happened, dude. I'm telling you.
Well, and as you said, we all want to see a fist fight, the last lap, the last moto, all the different stuff because it keeps us engaged and we're not bored. Um, but when you watch right now, Sexton's in a weird spot. He still has a lot of racing to go, but with a 28-point lead, if he gets second behind Hunter, he's still a moto ahead. So
Yeah.
once you have that, I cannot race the last moto,
Yeah.
you start thinking about all this stuff, and then you start being protective and not aggressive, and it's a crazy thing, and how much money is being made and lost over a race win.
Well, then, you know, then you got a couple more guys coming in. Then you're having to manage couple more guys, which you know how that is, dude. You
Yep.
had to manage so many different racers back in your day.
Yeah.
You had to manage Stanton, you had to manage Bailey, you had to manage Glover, you had to manage Osho, all these different guys, and they all race differently.
Yep.
So it's like everything's situational. So I wonder, you know, that'll be interesting if it plays out. And listen, dude, we could be totally speculating here, and it may never show its face, but those are the things that if you're Sexton that you know, you have to take into consideration if Hunter keeps performing well and being in a spot where he's still in striking distance.
Yep. You have to stay there. And I think my mechanic at the time was Brian Lunis, and very aggressive. I mean,
Oh
very
yeah.
I mean, was just a hammerhead, and we would yell and argue and all the different stuff, but we were fighting for the same goal. And he goes, "Listen, man, it's simple. Go get the whole shot, lead every lap, and the championship is taken care of. Win every race, and you don't worry about the championship." And once I realized that's the goal is don't don't when you go to drive across the United States, you got to get to Barstow, you got to get to Vegas, you got to do this. Don't start thinking about New York or Tennessee or whatever, whichever way you're going, because it's
Right.
too far. It's too far out. Bring your distance back a little bit. Have that goal in mind of the championship, but
Mhm.
just think attack, attack.
That's right. All right, dude. Let's switch up. Little 250 action.
Yep.
How we doing? You happy with everything? The flow is good. You're good with anything I need to do better. You can critique me. Trust me.
Oh,
You
you
can
mean
critique.
you're announcing?
No, no, no. I'm saying like with the show right now. Like you like the flow? Is the flow good?
No, I'm loving the flow. And here's the thing, Ricky, is that this is America. Let's disagree. If we're not hating each other.
I disagree with you on Hunter. I think we're asking it's just not fair. It's not fair to ask the same out of him. I agree with you that he needs to step up. You know me, dude. I think
Yeah,
everyone needs to step up and perform at the highest level, 100%. But I don't know, maybe I'm getting weak in my old age. I just feel like we wouldn't be saying the same thing if the field was stacked.
I'm going to ask you this: what would Jeannie tell Hunter if she was in charge of him?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you're right. You I mean, you got me. Dude, you you got me backed in the corner. Yeah, I mean, she would tell him, and honestly, and knowing what I know about Darren Lawrence,
Mhm.
I think he's all about truth serum too. Like I don't think he's sugarcoating it. I'm sure that he's pouring the coals to Hunter and not lifting off the gas and wanting him to win. You know,
Exactly.
I with you. I think stepping up is one thing, but I also think there is an element to where we're like maybe we're asking too much from them because if this field was stacked, I don't think we'd be saying the same thing. That's what I
And,
think.
and so let's finish the Hunter thing.
Okay.
You can have another comment, but with this is that I'm sympathetic of him. He came, they both came over,
Yeah.
GP experience, and then his little brother busted his ass at Anaheim, and he's like, oh, and he's like, I'm just a kid that wants to win, blah blah blah,
Right.
and
Mhm.
we didn't know if he's going to be a crash guy or whatever. Then all of a sudden, he really finds his groove, and during that time that he's finding his groove, Hunter's getting injured over and over and over and over again. And so I can't imagine being in the camp with a little brother who you've
Yep.
give noogies to, and
Yep.
you've been better than him his whole life. Now all of a sudden makes this big gap. And so I was really proud of him to overcome that because
Yeah.
he's on the same bike, he's the same kid, he's just, all the stuff.
Mhm.
So that's when I went to shake his hand. It
Yeah.
there was to, dude, congratulations, because I see a little bit more. So I'm very proud of him for overcoming all the obstacles. And
Yeah.
I think he's still growing as a racer.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a journey, 100%. Like, you know, we told the story a million times. All of our families sacrificed something,
Yeah,
but dude, selling all your shit and moving to a different country with 0 guarantees,
yeah.
right? Like, it's a hell of a commitment to make. And yeah, I think, yeah, that's what you were trying to, you know, tell him congratulations on, right? Is just the big picture of things.
Yeah, exactly. Just going, you know what, dude, you did it. And I told
Yeah.
Johnny O'Mara right before the finish of the race, I'm like, dude, I'm so happy for him. And they're because
Yeah.
I'm looking at lap times, and it wasn't a fluke. He was on it and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So, but yes, come on, bro,
Okay. Okay. Hey, we,
fine tune yourself.
dude, you got me on when you drilled me about what my mom would say, and yep, you're right. All right, 250s moving along.
Yep.
I think it was an exciting race. I loved what Vial was able to do. He rode a really good race that first moto. I watched the post-race press conference. He had a I guess he hurt his hand or something, so he wasn't able to train, but nevertheless, he did good. But at that track, I feel like RJ, that kind of catered to his riding. He's very technical, smooth, crafty, doesn't light the rear end up very much, like you kind of alluded to, like some of the 450 guys have done. Were there any, so before we get into some specifics, was there any standouts for you, whether it be good or bad in
Well,
Washougal
I,
250s?
I'm going to repeat almost exactly what you said. I think him coming from GPs where they leave the track a
Yeah.
little bit more, whatever the country caters. In Holland, it's deep sand, sand whoops and all the different stuff. When we go to Italy,
Yeah.
it's hard and slick. They just let it kind of become more of that. And I think his momentum, his speed, his throttle control, this track lent him a little bit better. I think more
Mhm.
his riding style. So I agree with you. And that's right. And I think that Hayden comes off more drop the hammer, a little
Yeah.
bit more Ricky Carmichael style. Like when it's
Yeah.
time to go, it's 100%. And you can see him losing the back end a lot and not cleaning it up. And it frustrated him a little bit, in
Yeah.
Moto 1.
Yeah, I guess he made some changes. I would have liked to have seen Shimoda get a
Yeah.
little bit better start. I was a little bit more hopeful for Levi Kitchen being straight up. Certainly underperformed this weekend going into his home race. Coming off of a win at Millville, I expected a lot more. He got a bad start, so we'll give him that. And we already talked about it on here, this track's super narrow. So I
Well,
expected more from Kitchen, the chef. I love what Shimoda has been able to do. He's got to get up there earlier. I mean, what do you like? Like, are you a Shimoda fan?
I'm a huge Shimoda fan because he's a very soft spoken, but he's a warrior. I
Yeah,
love that he's always there at the end of the race. But damn it, let's bring Jeannie in there. All right.
I
What would Jeannie do? Jeannie would have him practicing starts like I watched her do. You get bad starts. All right,
mhm,
Joe, it's not an excuse anymore. It's, screw me once, shame on me, or shame on you, screw me twice, shame on me. We know he gets bad starts. Change it. Start working on your starts. Let's not work on the long motos. We got that down. Let's
yeah,
get you into the first turn. For Levi, I'm sympathetic of him, and you know this. Racing at your hometown sucks.
yeah,
Everybody wants to come see you. Everybody wants to say hi. Hey, remember me? I was in junior high with you. And he's like,
yeah.
I don't remember you. And so I give him that grace, but once again, that's
You know
your
what?
dirt, that's your place. You need to step it up. So
Oh,
you
I
got
was just gonna jump on you, bro. I'm like, well, you get on Joe and tell him, hey, you got to work on your starts, but then you're gonna give the chef a little bit of grace because it's his hometown. I
no,
think you need to
I'm
step
saying
up when it's your hometown, dude.
absolutely. And that's what I'm saying is get your program together. You had a very tight knit group. You had just like three people that you would that your mom would allow to talk to you. and you kept it really tight and you kept it done. He needs to do that. And when you go to your hometown, don't allow every you've ever met in your whole life to come up and say hello and this, that. You're there to do a job. You know, you wouldn't call a you wouldn't go in and shake a surgeon's hand when he's in the middle of doing his thing. So let him do his thing. So he needs to learn how to overcome that. And also he should have had the advantage knowing the dirt, knowing what was going on. So I agree. I was disappointed in Levi because I felt he should have done way, way better, and he let it get to him.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think after you saw the first race, and how well Vial did, and Deegan, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't think that. I think he's one of the last dudes to ever surrender a moto win. But did you think that he would have did the performance that he did for the second moto based off of what you saw the first moto? And what did you like about the difference in from first moto to second moto with Hayden?
I think he had a good talk with his dad and his trainers and stuff about remember you're the man. Remember you're the champion. You're in the driver's seat. Don't submit. And then but on the other hand, kudos to you, Hayden, being a young, aggressive kid that a lot of time throws it on the ground. Maybe says, you know what? I picked the wrong tire because we don't know what tire he had. We don't know if he made suspension change. Did he?
Yeah, he did. He made suspension changes. He did make. I guess it was moving a little bit too much in the first moto. So I don't. You know how to fix the movement of the shock, dude. It could have been compression. It could have been rebound. I'm not sure on what side of the token that they changed, but they did say it was moving around too much. The first moto is what I heard. I think that's what Will Christian said.
And that's the thing that's going to make a champion that can adapt and overcome. And so sometimes though, just like in racing, is that when somebody gets a spot on you, and you can't tell me you can't hear when a guy is coming in on you, especially with these 4-strokes, they vibrate the out of you. When someone's there and someone has position, you have to submit. Okay, the guy's got you. But then if you carry it on and he blasts you in the middle of the corner, it's not his fault. He worked so hard to get that position on you. You got to go, okay, you got me, and then fight back. So what I'm saying, why I say that is that I think he submitted to his setup. I don't have it for him this moto. A second place is better than a fifth place. And let's make some changes for the next moto, and then I'll come after him. So I really like what I'm gonna say what the Deegan camp did. I'm not gonna say just him because I think everybody involved, Yamaha, Brian, the mom, everybody involved.
The team. Yeah, the team, the inner circle.
Yep. The team put it together, and he adapted and overcame for the second moto.
Yeah, I thought, I was bummed. We haven't talked about him. And then before we get into, I got some awesome fan questions, and then I want to rip through a couple of those with you. They wanted your insight on some stuff, and then we'll hit the quad lock question of the week, which would be awesome. I know you're going to bring it on that, but I'm bummed that Hymas is a little banged up because I absolutely love the progression that he's made. And you talked a little bit about it for guys when they go into the pro ranks and they're able to win early, they kind of take it to that next class or that next level. And I feel like over the last year, like we've been waiting to see what he's been able to do, and he's finally doing it. So I hate that he's injured because I feel like he was getting to that point that you referenced. He's taken it to that next step to where he is a podium guy basically all the time. But he held in there, and he's pretty banged up. But like, give us your thoughts on his progression this season outdoors.
So you can clarify with me, but from what I know, that he's basically in the Lawrence camp, riding with them and training with them and seeing that. Anytime that you're around somebody, I had Brock Glover, who was my mentor. Whatever Brock did, I did it. You know, when Stanton was with me, whatever I did, he did it +2. It didn't matter if I was push-ups, bench press, motos, whatever. So I learned I can't pull off until he pulls off, because he's going to try to one-up me, and that was his job. And I try to do the same thing with Brock and so on. So I think having the best guys in the world, you're seeing them day after day after day. You want to try to suck into their draft and carry them with you. And I think that's what we're seeing out of Chance, because his riding style, impeccable. It's very clean, very smooth on the bike. I like what I see there. His conditioning looks good. He's just got to racecraft, put himself in the right positions to capitalize.
Perfect. All right. Shift gears. So I'm really excited about this next, I wouldn't even call it segment before we get into quad lot question of the week, RJ, but we try to take questions and answer them as much as we can, especially if the racing wasn't too exciting, which we're getting. The racing's kind of, it's been good, but especially the 450 class with not a lot of the top guys in there. It's a lot of the same result each weekend, but nevertheless, got some killer questions, and I'm gonna read their names off, and you answer it.
Yep.
So the first one is CMB 2384. I like this question. So this person asks, should points or money be awarded for the fastest qualifier, fastest lap, most laps led, etc.?
No on points, yes on money, and I think that they should bring in sponsorship to cover these things, and I think you should get a bonus. I would also like to see something, if they call it a hard charger award, we see that in some racing series,
Yeah.
the rider that passes the most people, okay?
Competitive passes. Yeah.
Exactly, not just, well, I came in the whatever, but you're working your way through. Like when Sexton went from last to first, he
Yeah.
should get a bonus for that because that was what everybody talked about, and that's what they're still talking about.
Right.
Um,
Interesting.
I
Okay.
think leading halfway, yes and no. I have a theory. I have a theory that's crazy, and I'll probably get blown out of the water for this. But in truck racing, Jim Baldwin, who sponsored the series that I raced for, said,
Yep.
I want racing. We're going to do a competition yellow. So halfway through the race, he threw a yellow and let us all catch back up and go. And so that when we had the Torque series, which you came out and did one pro light race,
Yeah.
we had it set up so that we inverted the top six in points, and then we raced. Whoever led at halfway got a point. And so that was to help those guys in fifth, sixth, or whatever possibly do that. Now, do I agree with AMA and Feld and all the different stuff about completely restarting? I think once you get one lap in, you need to stagger it because the chances that you take everybody coming in at the same time is not right. It's just not fair.
Right.
But I think if they threw a yellow flag at halfway, staggered them, they just come in, they line up, and then they take off. You can't and don't put the line in the cone, make it out of the first turn so there's no T-boning, no running into each other. But it allows you, if you get a bad start, which with whole shot devices, with the steel grate and the mapping on the bikes, it's so much easier just to pin it and everyone go and you watch everybody take off. But when you didn't have whole shot devices, or I was on 500s and stuff like that, you had to be really smooth with the clutching, you're wheeling, you're managing all these different things. So I
Technique,
would love to
bro.
see that.
Technique of the start. Yeah.
Was important, and the guy and so there wasn't as many guys coming into that first turn, and also the speed was lower. Why do we have a whole shot device? I know this is not the exact question, but why do we have a whole shot device if everybody has it? I think we should get rid of them.
You're you're right. I see why they do whole shot devices, but I do think that I've said it here several times is I think it takes the technique out of starting away. I love the fact that when you didn't have the starting device, how you had to manipulate the clutch and do the best that you can to keep the front end down, and where now a lot of the guys get great starts. And not saying that I mean, you still have to be a good
Yeah,
starter, but it certainly takes a little less technique. And I'll argue this with anyone who wants to
all day
debate
long.
me on this, right? It's like it makes it easier and more consistent to get a better start with the way
And
it is. But it,
and I would like
but
to slow the speeds down into the turn one. So on that, it gets. I don't think points all the time, but I would love to see sponsors come in and give somebody an award for leading halfway. I'd like to see somebody give them for the most passes. They do an award, but they do the whole shot award. Why not add a couple more bonuses? And then it also gives the manufacturers. So let's say a gas gets the whole shot, a Yamaha leads it halfway, and then a KTM wins that. Now you have three awards that you're bragging about, and also three more awards that the riders can receive.
yeah, they're good. Good question. CMB 2384. RJ is not for points, but he is for the dough, right? That's what you said. You're not about the point. I'm with you. To comment on that also, I'm not a points guy for like qualifying. I just feel like there's guys that are really good at qualifying, and maybe it's not as good as getting it to the finish line. I just feel like it's an unfair advantage. Like I just, that's my opinion. A lot of people will probably beat me up on it, but I don't think there should be points for qualifying and
No.
fastest lap. I don't. I do think there should be some money incentives for fun little challenges like that within the race for sure, and it gets some outside sponsors. All right, so these next two questions before we get to the quad lock question of the week, RJ, and this is what I had for you today. I basically asked a very similar question, these next two that I'm going to give you, and I want to know what your strategy is. So try to implement what your strategy would be and how you would do it on these next two questions. So the first one, Jeremy from CA, so I'm assuming it's Jeremy from California, asks, if you're Levi, Tom, Chance, how would you regroup to challenge Hayden in SMX? And, so RJ, how are you going to try to find a way to beat this young phenom if you are in the current day and you think you might have a chance? Go for it.
So one, if I don't have the speed and he's just killed me on lap times, I would just pull off the side and I would follow him. I'd watch his braking points, I'd watch his throttle points, I'd watch his scrubs, I'd watch his lines. I do everything I can to get in that ballpark with him. So you have to be in the same realm with him. Then I would start screwing with him. I would line up next to him, I would bump him, I would rub him, I would do anything I could to get into his head, um, to pull him off maybe a 0.5% or 1% in you got to watch some guys. You motivate them, you piss them off, and then they beat you worse. But if I can get him thinking about me 1 or 2%, maybe he's not thinking about beating me 1 or 2%, or he's trying to slow down to knock me down or something. I wouldn't go try to break his leg in practice or this or that, but I would definitely, he would feel my presence. And this because I watched you do it with Villemin, I watched you do it with McGrath, I watched you do it with everybody. You went out and you made them aware that Ricky Carmichael is on the track. All right. And then you went away, try to go faster, really show them that you're on the track. So there's got to be more how you attack the track and how you do that. That's on your own. But now it's a physical game too. So let's go out there and hit him a couple times in practice. Kind of like, what the hell? What's your problem? Oh, no problem. I was just going and you happened to be in my way.
Yeah.
So I get in his head.
I don't know, man. I feel like I agree with you 100%. What do you work with? Okay, what do you work on during the week to try to make yourself faster? All the things that you learned when you were behind him in practice or whatever? Is that what you do?
I'm gonna reference old Jeannie again, because whenever you made a mistake and I watched you, if you fell down in the left-hand corner, you did 30 minutes of left-hand corners and she's timing you. And you're like, how can I be faster? How can I be faster? If you got bad starts, you worked on that. So go back to what your weak point, because even if you win, you have to go, where could I have been better? Could my starts have been better? Could my endurance have been better? Was I tired? Was I, what was the problem, and fix that problem, and then also know what he's doing and use him as that rabbit. You're chasing him every time you see you're off 1 second on there. That's Hayden Deegan was faster than you. The perfect you is Hayden Deegan, and then you just got to raise your whole game up.
All right, next one, and this is for the 450 guy.
Yep.
Landon _Wicker_official. Who will knock Sexton off the top step of the podium? So answer that one, but then also, if you are racing against Sexton, how do you beat a guy like Sexton? What is RJ doing?
So what I would do is I'm not going to mess with him. I got to be a better me. So I'm going to put myself in Jason Anderson, because so to answer that, it's a two-parter. I say Jason Anderson is the one that's going to take him off the podium. I have to be fast on the start like I was, and get away and keep going. So I'm going to look at my lap times to know on the starting line that I can run faster at the end of the race that I can at the beginning of the race, and not changing my line on my practice track, but just riding it better. And then by doing that, I would say with Jason, smooth everything out. Don't keep bringing a bigger hammer. grab a screwdriver, grab a chisel, grab a socket, grab whatever.
Yeah.
Change what you're doing little bits. Don't change, don't try to become Chase Sexton, but be a better Jason Anderson and take small things. And I think that he can do it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It'll be interesting. I've been going back and forth and talking about Hayden real quick, and you can see it coming, RJ. You can see that he is going to be a threat throughout his whole career. He
Mhm.
has that something. He's always trying to, progress, get better, taking information from people. Like they talk about it, they're always learning. You saw him riding at the sandbox with Kenny. He spent some time with Christian Craig.
Yep.
He's with Chad Reed. But I also, and I want to get your insight on this. Do you think, because I was wild and on the edge like that, do you think that is something that he can use to his advantage throughout his whole career, and he shouldn't try to change that aspect of his riding so much?
Yeah. So when
Because
I
it worked
watched,
for me. Like, I feel like that's how I was able to beat MC. Like, I knew MC wasn't going to ride over the edge, but to MC's to MC's side of things, like, I don't like, he was getting a little older, like more experience, and I don't think he needed to ride wild to try to beat me. I think it was that if I had caught him a few years beforehand, maybe he would, the risk would have been worth the reward would have been worth the risk. So, like, sticking up for him, I don't know that he should have hung it out. So I guess I'm saying riding wild worked for me, and riding that edge worked for me. Would you change it if you're Hayden?
no, I wouldn't change it, but what I would do is take a couple things. So I'm going to reference back to me. Try not to
Yeah.
talk about me, but here it is.
No, no,
Um,
dude, like,
well,
I'm with you. I don't wanna talk about me either, but it's like,
no, but you
just
have
use your reference.
because you know what it felt like to be in your skin trying and how you were going
Yeah.
to go beat Jeremy McGrath, the king of Supercross.
Yep.
So I had guys like Bob Hanna, Brock Glover, Mike Bell, Mark Barnett, Ken Howerton. I had these guys that were just men, and I was a
Yep.
boy.
Yep.
But I was very aggressive. I grew up in Southern California. I raced with a lot of top guys.
Mhm.
And then at first, I tried to be like Bob Hanna. I even had a duckbill at some point. And I thought, I'm going to make them fear me and I'm going to crash them. I'm going to do this. And then everybody was against me. And Jeff Spencer, the Honda, goes, dude, everybody hates you. And I'm like, good, they fear me. He goes, no, Rick, it's not they fear you. They're at the point that they don't care who wins as long as you don't win. And then I realized I need to take a couple percent from Hannah, a couple of percent from Bell, a couple percent from Glover, from Jimmy Weiner would walk down the gate and ask somebody about their girlfriend. He was into these psychological things and stuff like that. So take little bits to make the best you. Now,
Yeah.
when I watched Jeremy, who was crushing everything, once again, I'm up there with stopwatches. I'm at the San Diego Supercross. Mike Craig gets the whole shot. I'm looking at it. I'm just going to make up numbers. He's doing a 58. He does
Yep.
58, 58, 58. Jeremy's doing a 1 minute. And Craig pulls him by 8 seconds, but then 58, then 59, then 1, then 101, then 102. And here comes Jeremy. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Jeremy was so good, so smooth, and so precise that
Yeah.
he knew his body, he knew his bike, he knew everything about it. He
Mhm.
was able to do that. And I said to myself, I said, the only way you're going to beat Jeremy McGrath is come out like you're dying, like you're the third animal going on Noah's Ark. I've got to get,
Yeah.
I got to
Right,
get
yeah.
on there. And who did that? You
Yeah.
came out and yeah, you crashed.
Took
Yeah,
a couple took a
yeah,
couple years. Took a couple years, yeah.
but your intensity was there. And then once you figured out once your strategy, and it is to ride on the edge, you rode like fighting a guy that you have to kill to beat.
Yeah.
Because when you told me that in Detroit, I think it was Detroit or Minneapolis, or I forget, it might
Detroit.
have been Indy,
Detroit, I think.
you and Villeman had you covered.
Yeah.
But the last,
Indy, that was Indy. That was
yeah,
Indy. Yeah.
and then you beat him. I was doing some stuff for school at the time, and I walked up and I said, "Man, great job." And you said, I was willing to die. I was
Yeah.
willing to hit the wall," and he wasn't. And that's the change. When you race against a guy who's willing to die,
Yeah.
it's hard. And I think Hayden has the same grit and determination that you have, but you gotta harness it. You gotta harness it because you can get injured really
I
fast.
I do think I do think that that will be harnessed over time. The older that he gets, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, you just get better with time and experience. I think that that will be harnessed a few more years. I mean, I feel like it's more harnessed this year than it was
Agree.
last year. And I think that's just that just evolves over time and the experience that you get. I'm sure you were a 10 times better, more efficient rider at the end of your career before your wrist or your navicular got jacked. Um, and being efficient and having that experience makes you a better rider and equates to faster times on the track. And really, I feel you're taking less risk. Everything's just coming together.
It's coming together slow. And to mirror your thought, look at this weekend. His
Yep.
bike is off a little bit. He's like, you know what? I can't quite catch the guy. Let me make some changes. So he showed a lot of maturity this weekend because that track, whew, it can bite
Yeah.
you hard,
Yeah.
you know. And
Hmm.
so we're already seeing that maturity out of him. So
Yeah.
I agree. You need to stay doing what you do. And that's what you did well. That's what I feel that I did well. That's
That's
what
right.
McGrath did well.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
don't
They
try to
didn't bounce
be.
we didn't bounce around a lot. We stuck
No,
true to our views, and, we took a little bit from this guy. I took some from you. I took some from this guy, a lot some Johnny, and, like, just all of these people that we watched. We took knowledge from them and tried to incorporate that in our program and what worked for us and what made sense for us to get the best result, right?
yeah, agree.
Yep. All right. So RJ, this last segment here is the quad lock question of the week. If you haven't checked out quad lock, go to quadlockcase.com. They make incredible stuff. RJ, we got to get you set up with quad lock. They have some incredible stuff, especially you being in Baja. I mean, it's so durable. I'm sure you've seen their stuff and probably have friends that use it, but we're gonna get you dialed in. But so since the inception of Title 24, RJ, quad lock has been a sponsor of ours, and they give away swag every single weekend to a lucky person that poses a great question. But we figured that we'd pick this one this week with the Olympics being right around the corner. It just felt right.
Yep.
So the quad lock question of the week, the winner is Derek 982. Derek, you know what to do. If you're a loyal listener of Title 24, slide into the Instagram DM. JH will put you in with Quad Lock and they'll send you your stuff. So appreciate the support there. Derek asks, with destinations coming up, who do you see going this year? So, okay, you were a fan favorite of
Yeah.
all the people that you were racing against. You worked the fans. I mean, you were you were awesome with them. You interacted with them. You played the part. I mean, you did it right when it come from a lot of things right, but especially from the fans' perspective with your engagement with them. You were a big dude. All of your generation, my generation, were all about the motocross of nations and the pride that come along with that, and just how special it was. What did that race mean to you? And then, of course, with Derek's question, who would you pick if you're the team captain?
So back up to what it meant to me is that it was the one time, a couple of things. One, first and foremost, I'm representing my country. My father was in the Korean War. I didn't serve. I was scared to death when because I had to sign up for the draft, and I was
Oh,
honest, like
shit,
thinking,
really?
oh
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I turned 18 and I got this letter. You got to sign up for the draft. And I'm like, oh man, what? I'm thinking Muhammad Ali. I'm thinking athletes. I'm like, what if I have to go to war? There's no war, but what if I have to get? So anyhow, didn't get drafted. Got my letter back. Thanks, but we don't need you. So when the donations would come around, and I got to watch the guys before, the Brad Lackeys, the Bob Hanna, the Jimmy Weiners, Stackables, the all the
Yep.
guys that went over there, and honestly didn't have a chance. Roger and those guys just hammered them. And then all of a sudden, I think it was 81 with O'Mara and a Honda, Roger says, I'm going to take over the team and go. And then all of a sudden, now we win. And then we win again in 82. And then we win again in 83. And this was motocross and trophy. And then you had Danny Magoo Chandler, who won both 250 and 500. God bless him.
Yeah.
And then I got the shot in 84, and we won both Motocross Nations and Trophy Nations that year. And to be a part of that, because what was so cool is it Wardy hated O'Mara, and they were like at each other's throat.
Yeah.
Bailey was in
for the 125 championship in US, right?
exactly. And then Johnny, I think Wardy won Supercross and or Johnny won with 25. Anyways, so we had Bailey, O'Mara, and that. We all hung out together. It was fun. We could let our guard down. We could walk the track and go, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there, blah, blah, blah. And so you could let your guard down and you could relax. Bob Hanna would make fun of Wardy and I going, you guys are blah, 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 all this stuff. I'm like, no, we're fighting for the same goal. So I really enjoyed, one, representing my country, and two, taking the guy that I worked so hard to beat every weekend and just go, I'm an open book. And Wardy and I were very good about that, about following each other in practice, talking about who needs to start front row, second row. When Bailey and I in 86, Johnny O'Mara was the standout on a 125, was going to show Honda that they made a mistake. And I wish Johnny would have stayed on the team because we couldn't foresee what happened to David, but just so fast, was chasing me in this first moto, then it beats Dave Thorpe in the second moto, all the different stuff. But working with Dave we for the 250 race and 500, I said, I'm going to start on the inside because we had fastest line. I'm going to move over and I'm going to crowd this guy because I'm not going to get a whole shot on the 500.
Right.
And I'm not you. When the gate dropped, Bailey had a 2 bike length lead before I even cried. I'm like, holy shit, he was gone. And so then I was in the mix and we ended up getting first, second, third. But it was great to work with your teammates and also the people that you so-called hate during the year. Hate's a tough word, but who you have beat you. Now, with the riders racing, with the riders racing so much, I'm sympathetic that they want a little bit of time off, but you got to represent your country. So I would like to see Chase, Jason, and Hayden Deegan. I think Jason has been there. I think Chase is one of the fastest riders in the world right now. And I think Hayden in that Yamaha gets great starts. It's fast, and he don't give a shit. He doesn't care who you are. So he would love to go bang with 450s and all in the open class guys. So I think that's my pick. I think Plessinger should be the reserve guy.
That's a solid pick. Solid pick. Hopefully they'll announce something soon.
So who's your pick?
I think it'd be good for sure. You got any plans to come to any pro motocross races? Or they're all on the East Coast, so
yeah, they're East Coast now.
Yeah, you gonna come to any of the playoffs?
Oh, I can't. I'm gonna try to come to some of the playoffs. As you know, doing my tour company. Obviously, you're doing the same thing.
Tell everybody what you're doing with that, dude.
All right, so what I wanted to do was a little peek behind the veil, and give somebody. My thing was I walked away from motocross and riding motorcycles because of my wrist, and I was angry. I felt I was disrespected. I felt that I wasn't blah, blah, blah. So I took off, went truck racing and stuff. But then I started riding again. And then I knew that I couldn't ride at a level that I wanted to, but it meant so much to get out on a bike. And then I started riding from my house, dual sport. And because also here's the good thing about dual sport with the lights and all the different stuff. I go, yeah, I'd hit that triple, but I got lights on and so it gives you an excuse not to go big on a motocross track. But I really enjoyed getting out and riding. And so I have this term that when I was a little kid riding around my yard, I visualized that I was Joel Robert, Roger DeCosta, or these guys. So it makes a little boy feel like a man. And then I was racing in class 50 down in Baja, and I'm going through and I'm leading our class, and we're doing really well. And I'm visualizing that little kid. So motorcycles make a little boy feel like a man and make an old man feel like a little boy. So if I can get people on motorcycles, men, women, young, old, whatever, at the level that you want, and then also teach them to enjoy it. So through our military schools that we've done and stuff, I've trained all levels. I've had the blessing of working with you on a couple little things, and I've also worked with other guys as well.
Yeah.
But when you help somebody enjoy their riding, it's awesome. Like when I get these guys that are very, I'm not going to say scarred, but they see a very dark side of the world in combat and stuff.
Yeah.
And dude, after they're riding, they're like little kids. Dude, did you see me? I got air off that jump and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, man, if I could share this message with the world, and if it's cruising on an adventure bike down a road, if it's doing a little exploration, if it's doing that, it's getting out with your bros, and it takes us back to being that little kid. And when I visualize you and Bubba in the motorhome with doing those videos, and him with the big smile, and you guys both just
Talking
laugh.
about ice cream and all this crap. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But so that's what I'm doing. So you can check out rickyjohnson.com, and I'm going to start doing it. I haven't announced who I'm working with yet when it comes
Okay.
to manufacturers and stuff like that. But I've worked really hard on my routes and all my stuff, which I like that because it's very similar to pre-running in Mexico. I'm like, okay, we're going to leave at this time. We're going to get lunch at this time. We're going to cover this many miles and all the different stuff. So I put a lot of thought and care into that, and not hurting people. So to keep it exciting.
Like we need to get the West Coast edition Triumph, Rick, and we need to dial you in with them somehow, some way. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, I have talked to Rod, so we'll see how that goes. And by the way, if you are doing this, you think you want to have fun, go check out Jeff Stanton. He does an unbelievable program in Michigan. I haven't done it yet, but to see the change in the trees and everything that's got going on, I'm really
hey, that dude is a wild man still on a motorcycle. Like like when I went last year, RJ, and what you're doing, going back to your rides that you're going to be putting together, and I'm super pumped. I'm going to come out and do it when you get it up and everything is running at full tilt, dude. Like it's about the experience is what you're creating, dude. And that is an experience that someone's going to be able to take with them for the rest of their lives, whether they're younger, whether they're, a little more experienced and got some time on their side, like myself and you. That's what it's at. That it's fun for you to be able to share your memories and these experiences and create good times and memorable times for these folks, dude. That's awesome that you're doing that. That's so cool.
The last thing on that is that talking with the guys at Feld, they're really cool. They're letting me take the riders. I did a Lucky 13 at Anaheim. You get to take them on a track walk to let them see what's going on, do a pit tour, say hello to some friends, and then sit in a kitchen VIP seat. So kind of let them get my VIP pass of being a past champion and share that with them. Same thing that we're going to be doing at some of the motocrosses and stuff like that. So it's helping them and letting them see kind of what's going on there, as well as we're going to be doing some side-by-side tours. There's a lot going on, but as I said, don't look at it right now, but rickyjohnson.com, you can find out all that information.
Sweet. RJ, thanks for coming in and subbing. My man, again, RVs was going up to the Pacific Northwest, going up to at his parents' house. He's got all of his memorabilia, and he just got done finishing his trophy room at his place in Southern Cal. So he went up there to do that. Plus I owed him a couple. I've been on some, couple work trips, couple personal trips. And I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. And RJ's going to come and do the heavy lifting. So thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure. You're an icon to the sport. You know that. One of my heroes growing up, certainly. It's been, always enjoy your insight. You're real. And I don't think that many people can debate what you're saying, which is obviously most important. It's fact-based, and you do a great job. So definitely thank you for coming on today, dude.
Couple of things. One, always a pleasure. You and I don't catch up enough because both
we
our
don't.
schedules.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to do a podcast with you talking about the transition from being this little kid with a dream to the transition through life, because that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. The darkness when you leave racing, and you went to NASCAR, you did this, and now you're
a lot like you. Like you got hosed at the end of your career for sure. You got hosed, but then luckily you had something to fall back on because you're an incredible talent in all motorsports. So you weren't just sitting at home, right?
So that, and also with Quad Lock, I want to congratulate Toby Price. He's the Quad Lock factory driver. Toby and Paul Wheel won the Baja 500 in trophy truck. They do a great job. Toby's a great friend of mine. I see him pre-run and we have a good time. We share notes and stuff like that. So for him to go through all the controversy, not controversy bad, but the truck burnt down at one of the races and everything. So for him and Paul to come back and win in that Mason all-wheel drive and representing Quad Lock, which is right over there.
Yeah, that's right.
is kudos to Quad Lock and kudos to them as well. But I was a fan, and then this is the thing that's coming down your pike. You don't know it yet, but I'm writing letters to the guys that are my heroes, and it does to be one of my heroes. It doesn't mean you were before me. You know,
Right.
watching what you did, watching what Jeremy did, watching what I mean, Ezra Lusk. I think Ezra Lusk is kind of the brought in the forward knee scrubbing, you know,
Yep.
and all that different stuff. So
Mhm.
watching the different guys. So expect a letter soon from me saying my vision of you, of what I saw and my perspective on who Ricky Carmichael is. And I appreciate
Thanks,
your
dude.
your dedication to the hustle. And
Yeah.
that goes underrated. And it doesn't just happen. You know,
Yeah.
Jeff Emig, I'm sorry, but the dude stuttered so bad he couldn't say much. And
Mhm.
he was able to overcome that. That these are the kind of things that people they think, oh, he just got lucky and they handed him a microphone. I've watched how you have evolved. You've worked on your craft, your clean in, your vocabulary, all the different stuff.
Man, thank you.
And you know, everybody can take shots at you. When you're sitting in
Oh,
a
dude, yeah.
visible spot, they want to do that. But we're out in the public. So it's a real easy thing to go, oh, look, you're bald, RJ. No shit. I know that. You know, dude, you're fat.
God
Okay.
forbid you say the wrong word or pronounce something wrong, your chopped liver.
Well, I do have to tell you though. I have some friends that have a drinking game, and they have I hate that for him, Ricky Carmichael. Okay. So when someone I hate that for him. Oh damn it! Here we go again. Boom, boom,
That's
boom. But
that's
no,
right. Dude, hey, you need to give me hey, I love when people say, "Hey, we're gonna have a drinking game." I'm like, "Lucky for you." RJ, hey, I'm always down for a fun little game like that, aren't you, dude?
yeah, give it a go. But no, back to what I'm saying. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah.
Honored to fill in for RV. I
Mhm.
really love because he disappeared when he left
Mhm.
GPs and stuff. I think he had the same attitude as me: is screw this sport, I'm going somewhere else. And to have the two of you giving your insight,
Yeah.
people don't understand. Being a fly on the wall with two guys with that many championships is awesome. So
Yeah.
keep it up. I love it.
Thanks, dude. For all of our partners, again, thank you very much. United Motorsports, Quad Lock Case, Dunlop, and Boxo. You guys are fantastic. Remember, if you don't have the ability to listen or watch Title 24, we're on all of the iPod applications, so you can check us out there. Listen to myself and RJ on this edition of Title 24, and if you want to watch it, like most people do, you can watch it on Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, and we are on demand on Peacock. So go to Peacock. You can check this episode out with me and RJ, past episodes, whatever you want, but check us out there. And there will be, let's see here, the guys have a couple weeks off. The next time that the next national will be, what is it, August 10th, I believe it is, after the Olympics. So that's Unadilla. So no Motorsports on NBC promo this week. But again, RJ, you're an absolute legend. We appreciate you and everyone listening to this podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for your time, RJ.
All right, I love it, brother. Keep up the good work.
Yep.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.